Welcome back, everybody, to the Pittsburgh Pirates franchise here on MLB The Show 20. As today, we're going to be continuing our long-term simulation here, going through seasons 18, 19, and 20 today. Still rounding out the careers of some of the veterans who were once young players in the actual duration of the series. We won a World Series in Season 1 of last episode, and for the most part, we were able to keep the core together, but a lot of this core is really going to be broken apart very early in today's episode as soon as this upcoming offseason. I plan on having 2 more episodes of this long-term sim today's, and then I think I'm going to have 1 more episode after this one. It'll be however many seasons we need to get through until guys like Cruz, Osuna, and Cairo, all of them retire, until there are no more players left from the actual series. So going into next season, we have $135 million tied up into our players, but after that, we have a bunch of guys who are free agents, and really O'Neal Cruz and Brad Kinney are the only 2 players who are locked up after next year, so we have a lot of decisions to make. We're going to start the retirement stage, and Francisco Mejia will be calling it a career. He spent this year in free agency. Before that, he was on our team for pretty much the entire start. What a career for Francisco Mejia. He was one of the top catchers for upwards of a decade and a half, and he was a good bench player for us at the end too, so one of the key cogs in this series, and without him, we probably would not have won the World Series in year 5, and during the long-term sim, there are World Series we would have not won. So obviously, one of the big storylines throughout this long-term simulation has been the rapid decline of Benny Lane, who is now a 48 overall. He is pretty much a liability at this point. He had such a great start to his young career, and then he just got worse. He peaked at like 21, 22 years old. I've kept him around this entire time, but I think we're going to let him walk because he's a 48 overall. I can't have that on my Major League roster, so we're going to let Benny Lane probably play somewhere in the minors. I imagine he'll retire very soon because, well, he's a 48 overall. I hate that it ended this way with him, but at some point we just have to let him go, and I think now is that time. We don't have really financial flexibility to make big offers here in free agency. I think next year is really for the first time in a while that we will have financial flexibility, because with all the players who are pending free agents, a lot of them are not going to be on the team anymore. We're going to trade a lot of them away. Here's a look at all the players signing. This free agency class was one of the weaker ones, I will say. So there wasn't really anyone who I was like really wanting to get. So I'm not overly upset that we didn't go after anybody. Keeping forward here, Heliot Ramos has had a really good end to his career. He is a White Sox. Good thing that he is now out of our conference. Long-time San Francisco Giant. Going forward, plenty of trades. I plan on making all of my moves after everybody is under contract, so pretty much after the arbitration stage, which has now been completed. We're about $1.4 million over our budget, but next year, again, we only have $40 million tied up. We have a lot of guys who are free agents outside of Pablo Cairo and Santiago Osuna, who I'm not letting go. Everybody else is up for grabs, so I'm certainly willing to make a lot of trades, and we were very aggressive here in this trading stage. The first player I'm moving on from is Ben Encarnacion. Ben Encarnacion's been a fine pitcher for us the past 3 seasons. He has 3 more years under contract, but he just hasn't really produced the way I was hoping for. He's lost in 2 Game 5s of NLDSs, so I'm willing to move on from him. We're going to be trading him and Adam Rivera, 2 players who I don't really see a huge future for. Rivera's a free agent at the end of the offseason. We're going to be getting 2 very good outfield prospects from the Boston Red Sox, continuing to replenish our already stacked farm system. Adam Deaton, he's going to be on the move. He's a free agent this offseason. I don't want to pay him. Along with Jamison McAdams and Jesse Grant, going to the LA Angels for 3 very good prospects. Again, just trying to replenish the farm system. And then Bernardo Montoya, he's a free agent at the end of the year. We're going to be trading him along with 2 good prospects, Mark Cohn and Chad Klabauf, to the Giants for a really good prospect. 21-year-old second baseman Francesco Rodriguez. I think he has like 94, 95 potential, and he's already really good now. The next player on the move is Mohamed Lunsford, who's also a free agent. He won a Cy Young in 2035, wasn't as good last year, and I think he's going to ask for probably around $15 million. I don't really want to do that, so we're going to send him to the Red Sox as well in exchange for outfielder Andres Herrera. And then Cy Muser. This is an interesting one. He's 34 years old. I think he's going to start regressing soon. And he's still going to ask for a lot of money because he's really good. So we're going to be trading him along with a very good prospect in Leonardo Chavez to the Oakland Athletics for an absolute haul. 8 potential pitching prospects, Buster Bouchard and Michael Cordova, and a very good reliever right now in Rolando Dolly to help out the bullpen. So we just traded a lot of key players away, making a small move here. I want some more outfield depth, so we're going to be getting Jay Bond from the Toronto Blue Jays. He is a fun name, and we didn't give up anyone too important in that deal, so I'm happy with that one. Going to be making another small trade, trading 3 players who I don't really care about too much to the Indians for Fabio Perez. Again, I'm just looking for more outfield depth. He's 36 years old, and he's obviously not a part of our future, but I think he'd be a good bench bat to have for a year or two. I know he is still under team control for a little bit while if we do want to hold on to him past this season. So just really trying to round out some depth. Obviously, Cy Muser's gone, and we don't have a ton of outfielders on the roster. So that leaves us with Jonathan Ritchie, Pablo Cairo, Manny Feliciano, Santiago Osuna, and Rob Hills as the guys who are free agents this upcoming season. All of them are over 30 except for Jonathan Ritchie. The guys who are over 30 I don't want to extend right now, but I do want to extend Jonathan Ritchie because I think he's really good. 3 years, $85 million. I'm going to gladly accept that. And the reason why I'm not going to pay these guys over 30 is chances are they're going to regress a little bit this year, meaning they're going to ask for less money. So I'm willing to wait it out until the offseason and try to bring those guys back then. As we take a look at the new look lineup here for Season 18, we have a lot of key players no longer here. Guys like Encarnacion, Mo Lunsford, some other guys as well, Adam Deaton, Cy Muser. So certainly some younger players have to step up. We have 2 rookies in our rotation in Devon Bridges and Alan Robles. Bridges has 99 potential. I think Robles can be pretty good too. Gabe Rodriguez, also a rookie. So that puts us in a better position financially. O'Neal Cruz's contract is also almost up. Next season is the final year of that. I decided not to trade Cruz now, but if he really regresses hard, we may have to trade him in the offseason, which does sting because he's been here the entire time, but the game gave him that super long contract, but obviously I never agreed with. And now, the fact that the game did that is really starting to bite us in the butt. I simulated up to draft day, and let's just say this new look team, they gelled pretty quickly. We're 48-14. We won our first 22 games, which is tied for the longest win streak in Major League history. And that's how we started the year, keep in mind. We had a very good draft, getting 2 89 potential players in starting pitcher Newton Kim and third baseman Ben Gribble. Got another B potential player as well in Lewis Ashby. So one of the better drafts that we've had up to this point. And the rest of our draft, we did fairly well, getting a bunch of C potential guys. So not too bad. We're going to move up to the All-Star break now. See if we can continue to play well at a very high pace and a very high level. And we are 72-24. We lost, what, like, not a lot of games in that span. I don't remember exactly how many losses we had. But a lot of the reason why we've done so well is Alberto Estrada, who has 26 home runs right now. He is third in the MVP race behind a couple Cardinals, including Manuel Medrano, who is with our organization the longest time. And right when we traded him away, he became really good, which makes me kind of salty, but good for him, I guess. Also, our starting pitching has been ridiculous. Look at the ERAs for all of our starters. Absolutely nuts. Alan Robles, our rookie, is the favorite for Cy Young. Shelby Gonzalez is in second. So, yeah, the starting pitching has been incredible for us this year. This team looks like they're bound for a World Series, and we got worse in comparison to last year. Looking at the All-Stars, Robles and Gonzalez both fare unsurprisingly. Rob Hills, who is starting to regress a little, he makes it. Alberto Estrada, he is an All-Star once again. Nobody else in the infield. Actually, our only other bat to make it is Pablo Cairo. The old man still producing 21 home runs, hitting .295. His numbers against lefties, though, eek, they have regressed quite a lot. 82-27 now at the deadline. And I don't really know if there are a bunch of moves I want to make. We got rid of a lot of the expiring contracts, so I didn't want to trade away at the beginning of the season. But it is worth noting that we now have the top 3 for Cy Young. Robles, Ritchie, and Gonzalez are all 1, 2, and 3. So that's pretty wild. We're not going to make any moves. We're just going to simulate to the end of the year. I think this season has been absolutely perfect up to this point. And we kind of didn't do all that well to finish out. We finished 107-55, which is the best record in the league, so I shouldn't really complain. But in comparison to starting off 22-0, I thought we would have finished with a better record. The lineup as a whole was great. O'Neal Cruz rebounded this year. Ratings-wise, he's still completely falling off a cliff, but he had a good season. Alberto Estrada was great. Really, everybody in our lineup produced at a high level. The bench as well was very good. And the starting pitching, too. A lot to like here. Alan Robles is injured going into the postseason, unfortunately, but he still had a great year. All of our starters were phenomenal. And the bullpen as well. Really like a lot of these low ERAs. I don't think anyone had an ERA in the 4s, except for Rob Hills, who was an all-star. So I guess that he really played poorly down the stretch. Shelby Gonzalez is the one who ends up winning Cy Young. Jonathan Ritchie finishes in second. Alan Robles does not make the list, which is kind of a surprise. So we're going to play the Cardinals here in the first round of the postseason. They won the wild card game over Milwaukee, which shows that our division is absolutely stacked. Kind of wild that we've won 16 straight division titles as we beat them in 4. Now we're facing off against the Philadelphia Phillies. Tied at 2, we win Game 5, and we lose Game 6. So here we go. Game 7, Shelby Gonzalez, the Cy Young winner, takes us to the World Series. And we've got a rematch against the Minnesota Twins. We beat them for our lone World Series title, I believe, last episode. And I think they're a better team than they had. Now, their roster last time, I think they just got lucky. But this time, I think they're a little bit better as we lose Game 1. Here we go. Big Game 2 win. Now we're not looking back. 3-1, 4-1. There you go. The Pittsburgh Pirates have won the World Series in 5 games. The old man, Pablo Cairo, still has it. And I say old. He's like 33. I think he's going to be 34 next year. A lot of his ratings are really starting to go down, but he is still producing at a very high level. He was obviously great here in the postseason. So I think that's 6 World Series totals throughout the entire series. I could be wrong about that number, but I'm pretty sure it's 6. So Benny Lane, as you can see, is retiring. He was actually with the Rockies organization this year. He played for their Double-A team, the Hartford Yard Goats. Did not see any major league action, so although he retires as a member of the Rockies organization, he did play his entire career for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Still an outstanding career. He was a big piece of our core for the longest time, even if it really went downhill quick. Nolan Arenado, who's like 45 years old now, makes the Hall of Fame. I don't think he's played a major league game in like 6 seasons, but he still makes it anyway, so good for him. Entering free agency, these are the 4 who we did not re-sign during the season: Feliciano, Cairo, Osuna, and Hills. We're going to bring all 4 of them back on 1-year deals, and I'm going to give all of the older players 1-year deals for the rest of their careers because, again, they're going to continue to ask for less money, and they all ended up accepting, which is very good news. And for the first time in a while, we do have some financial flexibility, and I'm willing to spend a little bit on potentially getting some really good players, or 1 really good player, singular. So there was a name who really popped out at me, who was very interesting. We'll talk about that name in a second. But as you can see, we only have $120 million tied up currently. Now, that doesn't include the guys who are going to be in arbitration, so that number will go up. But Julio Rodriguez is in here, who has been incredible throughout this entire series, an absolute monster. And you know what? I kind of want him on my team. So we're going to offer him a 1-year deal worth around $11 million. I think we should still have enough money to, still bring all of our arbitration guys back. Dylan Carlson has fallen off a cliff. He is 39 years old, 61 overall, and I want him to retire as a Pittsburgh Pirate. When a lot of the old players who were once on our team in this series, who are not on our team anymore, who really start to go down, like Carlson, I want them to retire as Pittsburgh Pirates. So Dylan Carlson's going to retire as a Pirate. Looking at the free agency news, there you go. Julio Rodriguez has signed with us 1 year, around $11 million. One of the best hitters in this, I guess, generation, if you will. He's been incredible for the White Sox, the Padres, and the Rangers. So now he gets to be great on our team, which is really exciting because we've got to see his career unfold, and he has been absolutely marvelous. Manuel Medrano, he had an outstanding year, signs with the Rangers. I wouldn't mind having him retire with us. I think that'd be pretty cool. So still a lot of moves coming in. We're not going to really make any big moves in free agency. But we have even more guys who are free agents next year. Jonathan Ritchie, the only player under a long-term contract, but now Alberto Estrada, Brad Kinsey, Rolando Dolby, Shelby Gonzalez, Vinny Sanchez, Julio Rodriguez, and O'Neal Cruz are all free agents, along with Rob Hills, Manny Feliciano, Pablo Cairo, and Santiago Osuna. So Again, we have some big decisions to make. We're not going to make any trades here at the beginning of the year, unlike last season. But obviously, there's no way I'm going to pay all those guys, so we will be making moves at the deadline to get some of those guys off our hands. Obviously, again, I want to keep Cairo and Osuna forever. I'd like to keep some of those relievers, and then I cannot let Alberto Estrada go because he's an absolute machine. We do have Ronald Aguilera, who is now up. He's a really good catching prospect. He was out of minor league options. I couldn't keep him down because I knew someone was going to claim him. So he'll get some opportunity this year. I think he'll be an everyday player next year, especially if we let go with Vinny Sanchez. And I'm not sure I want to pay him, considering we have a lot of guys we're going to owe money to. The pitching rotation and bullpen is pretty much a carbon copy and paste of what it was last year. I think the only difference is I'm moving Manny Feliciano to the closer role because Rob Hills is really declining. So we're going to simulate to draft day again, and we're doing about as I would have expected, 42-19. Not a whole lot to complain about. Tight race with the Cubs for first place in the division. Pablo Cairo is the current favorite for MVP. He's in 329 with 12 home runs. Still producing at a very high level. I think he's a lock to get 3,000 hits, which is super cool. Devin Bridges and Alan Robles are second and third in the Cy Young race, only behind William McNamara of the Cardinals. We did another pretty good draft with 3 players of at least 84 potential in Juan Pilario, Johnny Monk, and Estevan Calero. The rest of the draft was fine. So we're now going to move up to the All-Star break. Pablo Cairo not first for right field voting, although he's the MVP favorite. I don't really get that. But we're 66-30. Looking at the All-Star teams, none of our starting pitchers, but Mohamed Lunsford is there. That's a little bit annoying. We don't have any relievers either. We do have Alberto Estrada, obviously not a huge surprise. Albert Cairo, first-time All-Star. And then Pablo Cairo made it again, along with Brad Kinsey. Tom Yang there in center, former member of our organization. We're going to move to the trade deadline now, and we will be active in the trade deadline. We're 73-37, and although we could go all in for a World Series, I really want to focus on the long term, and obviously there's no way we're going to bring all of these players back, so we're going to have to trade some of the players who I don't plan on re-signing away. So, we're going to be sending Shelby Gonzalez, Rolando Dalwy, and Vinny Sanchez, all of whom are expiring contracts, to the Cleveland Indians for 3 very good prospects. Carmen Sanchez, Alfonso Tejada, and Carlos Huerta, they all have high potential. They're all at most 20 years old. 2 of them are 19. And then we're going to be sending Brad Kinsey and catcher Eric Iwase to the Boston Red Sox for 3 potential prospects. Brad Kinsey's been super cheap for us for the past 5 seasons. That's why I traded for him a while back. He's been really good, certainly worth that investment, but I don't want to pay him big money, and we don't need Eric Iwase. Salvador Ramirez will be going to the Rockies for Teddy Cortez. Ramirez is not an impending free agent, but I think this trade makes a lot of sense. We did trade away Rolando Dalwy, and we need some more bullpen help. And we're going to be trading 3 prospects who I don't really care about to the Cubs for a really good bench bat in Luis Castilla, a 32-year-old first baseman. I don't think he's really going to play every day, but I think he's going to provide us a lot of pop off the bench. So the lineup looks quite a bit different now. No more Vinny Sanchez, no more Brad Kinsey. Those guys are gone. Rolando Dalwy, Shelby Gonzalez, they are all gone as well. So pretty much the same free agents as last year and Alberto Estrada for the most part. We're obviously going to pay all those guys. Going to simulate to the end of the year, we finish 103-59, which again is good enough to win the division, obviously, and the top seed in the National League. Let's take a look here at the statistics for everybody on the team currently. Albert Cairo had his best year, and then Pablo Cairo, by the way, he is currently hurt with a broken hand. He'll be out for the playoffs, which sucks, but he had a great year. O'Neal Cruz is still fine for the most part. Alberto Estrada was amazing. Julio Rodriguez really started his year off slow, but he played a lot better down the stretch, was good to see. The starting rotation was fine. Now, no Jonathan Ritchie. He is currently injured as well. Michael Shoemaker is currently starting, which I don't particularly like. I think we're going to rock out with a 4-man rotation in the postseason. Frank Rodriguez is also hurt, one of our relievers, so we're a little bit banged up going into the playoffs. Alberto Estrada did win NL MVP, though, so that's very cool. He only hit .253, but he absolutely mashed the cover off the ball. Peak Estrada has been better than peak Francisco Mejia. The question is, can Estrada be as good longevity-wise as Francisco Mejia? Mo Lunsford on the mound here for the Chicago Cubs. That's who we're playing in the NLDS. Currently tied at 1-1, now 2-1. Oh dear, now it's 2-2. Santiago Osuna versus Lunsford for Game 5, and we lose. It seems like every year we either win the World Series or we lose in the NLDS. There's no in-between. We have not lost a World Series in this long-term sim. I don't even think we've lost a conference series in the long-term sim. The World Series MVP, by the way, one of our former draft picks, Tom who has been really good with the Phillies, no pun intended there. Again, nobody retires on our team, so O'Neal Cruz, I think, is going to be like 40 now, which is absolutely wild. 3 Hall of Famers, though. Joe Adell, Yordan Alvarez, and Manny Machado. Look at Alvarez, 724 home runs. That's like, what, 3rd all-time? He also racked up 3,000 hits. Alvarez is the first player to retire in this series, other than like Albert Pujols and Miggy, to finish with 3,000 hits, which is really cool. Entering the offseason, look at all this financial flexibility. The only player on a long-term deal is Jonathan Ritchie, and to be honest, I don't know if I'm going to keep Jonathan Ritchie. He was disappointing this past year. He is really starting to progress a little bit, so we may look to move on from him. We have 8 players who need new deals. Now, 2 of them, Dylan Carlson and O'Neal Cruz, they're asking for, like, no money. But everybody else we're going to re-sign as well. Estrada's the only one making big money, and then all of those older players are going to continue to ask for less and less throughout the remainders of their career. Going into the final offseason we covered today, everybody accepted, except for Manny Feliciano, who is now entering free agency. Hopefully we still get him back. And again, we do have a lot of financial flexibility, which is good because this free agency class is absolutely loaded. So with my plan of trading Jonathan Ritchie, we're going to need a new starting pitcher. And someone who popped out to me was Jeremy Sawyer. Sawyer has been very consistent with the Seattle Mariners. There are higher-rated pitchers, but those guys want maxes. Sawyer only wants around 20 mil, so he's going to be a lot cheaper than, say, someone like Edgar Ramos or Tadito Yamada, who both signed immediately with the Mariners and Padres, respectively, and then we immediately signed Jeremy Sawyer. Adam Deaton, one of our former guys, is going to the Houston Astros. I think he's staying in the AL West because he was with the Angels last year. Mohamed Lunsford to the Rangers, so the AL West is literally getting all of our sloppy seconds, which is kind of funny. Imagine if we were in the AFC West. That would prove to be absolutely wild. But here's a look at the rest of the free agent signings and trades. The Cubs are making a few big moves. They going to try to compete with us in the division. Rolando Dolby, one of our former guys, he signs with the Padres. And I want to sign Wander Franco back now. We traded Franco last episode, and he's a 61 now. I don't think he's going to start anywhere. I'm waiting to sign all these old players until they're just not going to start. So that's why we're signing Wander Franco now. And I also am going to sign Bo Bichette. Bichette is very close to 3,000 hits, but he's a 58 overall. He's not starting anywhere. Bichette was not a core piece in this series, but we did have him for a couple years, and he was traded away for Wander Franco. That trade, we literally traded probably a Hall of Fame player for another Hall of Fame player, which is absolutely wild to think about. And both of them are going to retire on our team. Brad Kinsey to the Rays. Antoine Herrera, one of our former guys, he will be going to the Tigers. I think we originally got him from the Tigers in the Travis Swaggerty trade all the way back then. And then there is one more older player I want to sign here, have him retire in our organization, and that's Andy Vina. Vina was never a part of our organization, but I want to sign him because he was the very first player drafted in this entire series. He was the number 1 pick in the 2020 draft by the Detroit Tigers. And although he was a late bloomer, he didn't make his debut until like 10 years later and not with the Tigers. But I don't know, I kind of want him to retire with us because he's just been such a random player this whole time. And I think it'd be fun to have him. So Jonathan Ritchie is officially being traded now. He is going to the Royals in exchange for 3 very solid prospects. Again, our farm system is just absolutely loaded. And I just don't think Jonathan Ritchie's really cutting it anymore, especially for the fact that he's going to be making $28.5 million over the next 2 years. So budget-wise, we're in the best financial situation we've been in a while. But we have even more guys as free agents next year, which will be early next episode. We only have $3 million tied up into everybody next year. $3 million. That is absolutely wild. We got some bad news here in spring training. The reigning NL MVP, Alberto Estrada, fractured his hand. He's going to miss the first probably 2 months of the year, which is not good news. So Ronald Aguilera will start at catcher. He's now a 94 overall. He probably would be an everyday player anyway. He would just have to play somewhere else, like, say, first base. Oneil Cruz is a 71 overall. I still want to start him because he's still a productive hitter, and I want him to reach certain milestones, such as 3,000 hits and 600 home runs. I don't think he'll hit that this season. I think he's probably on pace to hit that next year. The rotation and bullpen are actually quite a bit different entering this year. So now let's simulate up to draft day. We have a new look squad once again. And we're 42-19, still playing on a high level. Look at Devon Bridges, 8-0, 1.66 ERA. He is not the favorite for Cy Young because we have Gabe Rodriguez, who is 9-0 with a 1.86 ERA. Our draft this year was actually not very good. We picked a 38 overall in the first round. I think the only interesting thing in this draft is I picked a player named John Madden at the end, and he's actually one of our better picks, which is kind of sad. So, John Madden has been reincarnated into a relief pitching prospect. Simulating up to the All-Star break, we are now 59-36. We really are starting the month of July off poorly. Taking a look here at the All-Star rosters, none of our starters, even though we had the two favorites for Cy Young entering the month of June. No relievers as well either. Sean Navarro and Bernie Rayburn both make their first All-Star games. Albert Cairo is back. And those are only three. Pablo Cairo misses out this year, but of course the former Pirate Miguel Quevedo is there starting in right for the Cubs. At the trade deadline, we are now 68-42. 8 games ahead of the Cardinals. We should win the division. And I don't plan on making any trades here at the deadline. But we do have an injury. Ronald Aguilera, broken forearm. He's done for the rest of the year. This is in the month of August, by the way. So here we are actually in September. I wanted to show you guys something real quick. Alberto Estrada is the favorite for NL MVP, even though he missed the first month and a half of the year. That is absolutely wild. He made his season debut in mid-May, and entering September, he's the favorite for MVP. That is crazy. So he finished 106-56, which again is good enough to win the division for an 18th straight time. The last time we did not win the division was season number 2. Wild. Here's a look at the numbers. Pablo Cairo, 30 home runs. He is still hitting for good power. Alberto Estrada had 43 dingers. Julio Rodriguez was pretty bad, though. He had around 230. Probably won't be back next year. Oneil Cruz really regressing. He's a 64 overall. He only hit 11 home runs. I still want him to be an everyday player because I want him to hit those milestones, but he was bad. Santiago Osuna has fallen to a 79 overall, but he still finished with a sub-3 ERA because he's that freaking goated. The bullpen as well was solid for the most part. Rob Hills rebounded in a big way, even though he's only a 74. And the worst player in our bullpen was arguably our closer again, Manny Feliciano. Back-to-back MVPs for Alberto Estrada, even though, again, he missed the first month and a half of the year. Devin Bridges wins the Cy Young. Alan Robles finishes in second. So we've had like 4 or 5 Cy Young winners in this series, and I don't think Santiago Osuna has one, which is crazy. Here we are, NLDS against the Padres. We are struggling, and we get swept. After winning 106 games, we lose to the wild card Padres. The Mariners end up defeating the San Francisco Giants in the World Series. That is really unfortunate. So, again, either we win the World Series or we lose in the NLDS. No in between. That will pretty much end today's episode. We have a lot of our big-time players now in their upper 30s. I think next episode will be the series finale. I don't know how many seasons it'll go. It depends how long a lot of these older players stick around. And although we will obviously be continuing the long-term sim next episode, it's not really going to be as focused on the long-term sim. It's going to be more focused on some of those older players. Rounding out the careers of Pablo Cairo, Santiago Osuna, Oneil Cruz, Wander Franco. Guys like that, we will get to see them in the twilight, retire, and hopefully a lot of them end up making the Hall of Fame. So that's what next episode is going to look like. I hope you guys are excited for that. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new, and as always, have a good one. I'm out. Peace.